In 2022, a 23-year-old kid from Ohio lost his entire life savings, $47,000, gone in less than 72 hours. He didn't get robbed at gunpoint. He didn't lose it gambling in Vegas. He handed it over, willingly, to one of the most sophisticated financial scams the world has ever seen. And here's the terrifying part. He was smart. He did his research. He watched the YouTube videos, read the forums, followed the right influencers. He did everything right, and he still got destroyed. This is the story of crypto's greatest scams, the psychological traps, the technical tricks, and the billion-dollar lies that fooled millions of perfectly intelligent people all around the world. Stay with me, because understanding how these scams work might be the most valuable financial education you ever get. Why crypto is the perfect scam environment. Before we get into the scams themselves, we need to understand why crypto is such a perfect breeding ground for fraud in the first place. Think about what makes a scam work. You need complexity, something people don't fully understand but want to believe in. You need greed, the promise of returns that seem just barely believable. You need urgency, a reason to act now before thinking too carefully. And you need legitimacy, something that looks official, professional, and trustworthy. Crypto checks every single one of those boxes simultaneously. The technology itself, blockchain, decentralized finance, smart contracts, is genuinely complex. Even educated people struggle to explain exactly how it works. And when you don't fully understand something, you become vulnerable. You start trusting other people's confidence instead of your own knowledge. Then there's the greed factor. Bitcoin turned $1,000 into $68,000 in less than a decade. Stories like that are real. They happened. And once people hear those stories, their brains start doing something dangerous. They start imagining themselves in that position. Psychologists call it possibility thinking, and con artists have been exploiting it for centuries. Layer on top of that the complete lack of regulation. There's no FDIC insurance in crypto. There's no SEC watchdog monitoring every coin launch. There are no phone numbers to call, no customer service desks, no chargebacks. When money disappears in crypto, in most cases, it is gone forever. That's the environment. Now let's talk about the people who figured out how to weaponize it. Every major crypto scam in history runs on the same psychological playbook. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The first weapon is social proof. Human beings are wired to look at what other people are doing and assume it must be correct. Scammers know this, so they manufacture it. They buy fake followers. They pay people to post testimonials in Telegram groups and Reddit threads. They create entire communities of enthusiastic believers, many of whom are bots or paid actors, and they use those communities to make you feel like you're the only person who hasn't gotten in yet. The second weapon is authority bias. We trust people who seem important, experienced, or credentialed. Crypto scams consistently feature celebrity endorsements, fake partnerships with real companies, and manufactured experts with impressive-sounding titles. When someone in a suit stands in front of a stage at a blockchain conference and talks with absolute certainty, our brains assign them authority they haven't earned. The third weapon is FOMO, fear of missing out. This might be the single most powerful tool in the scammer's kit. The pitch always sounds like this. This window is closing. Early investors are already up 500%. The people who got in on Bitcoin early are millionaires today. Do you really want to miss this again? That fear of regret short-circuits rational thinking faster than almost anything else. The fourth weapon is escalating commitment. Scammers rarely take all your money at once. They take a little first, give you a small win, build your trust, and then encourage you to go bigger. By the time you realize something is wrong, you've already invested so much that walking away feels impossible. Psychologists call this the sunk cost trap. Scammers call it getting you hooked. And the fifth weapon is artificial complexity. The more complicated something sounds, the less likely people are to question it. Technical jargon, yield optimization protocols, liquidity mining mechanics, algorithmic stablecoin pegs creates a smokescreen. It sounds like it must be real because it sounds like only a genius could have built it. All right, let's talk about the scams themselves. And we start with the grandfather of them all, BitConnect. BitConnect launched in 2016 with a promise that sounds completely insane in hindsight. Lend us your Bitcoin, and our proprietary trading bot will use it to generate guaranteed daily returns of between 1 and 3%. Do the math on that. 1% per day compounded is over 3,000% per year. And people believed it. At its peak in late 2017, BitConnect had a market cap of over $2 billion. The whole thing ran on a classic Ponzi structure. New investor money paid returns to old investors. As long as new money kept flowing in, the machine kept running. Promoters, many of them popular YouTubers and influencers, earned massive referral commissions and shouted the project's praises to hundreds of thousands of followers. The hype was electric. BitConnect had live conferences with screaming crowds, motivational speakers on stage, and an almost cult-like energy. The most famous moment from that era is a promotional video where a promoter screams into a microphone, "Hey, hey, hey, BitConnect!" while the audience loses their minds. It looked like a religious revival. That's not a coincidence. The psychology was identical. When the Texas Securities Board and North Carolina Securities Division issued cease and desist letters in early 2018, the whole thing collapsed in 48 hours. The BCC token dropped from over $400 to under $1 in a single day. Investors lost an estimated $3 billion. And the founder? He simply disappeared. If BitConnect was a fire, OneCoin was a nuclear bomb. Founded by Ruja Ignatova, a woman who called herself the Cryptoqueen, OneCoin raised an estimated $4 billion between 2014 and 2019. Let that number sit for a second. $4 billion. It may be the largest cryptocurrency fraud in history. Here's the most breathtaking part. OneCoin was not even a real cryptocurrency. There was no blockchain. Investors were told they were mining and trading a revolutionary new coin, but the entire back-end was just a database, a spreadsheet controlled by Ruja and her team. Numbers on a screen with no actual value or technology behind them. OneCoin sold educational packages that came with tokens people thought they could mine and eventually sell for huge profits. The educational material was largely plagiarized from the internet. The whole operation was a textbook pyramid scheme wrapped in blockchain vocabulary. Ruja Ignatova disappeared in 2017, just before American authorities began closing in. She has not been found to this day. She is literally on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Her brother was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Co-conspirators received sentences across multiple countries. $4 billion. Real families, real savings, destroyed by a woman who simply made up a cryptocurrency that never existed. Now let's get into the more technical side of crypto fraud, because scammers aren't just using psychology, they're exploiting the actual code underneath these projects. Enter the rug pull. A rug pull is exactly what it sounds like. A development team creates a new token, generates massive hype through social media, watches retail investors pile in and pump the price up, and then the founders drain all the liquidity from the project and disappear with the funds. The token goes to zero instantly. By the time investors realize what happened, the wallets are empty and the team is gone. The Squid Game token is one of the most infamous examples. In October 2021, riding the massive wave of popularity from the Netflix show, an anonymous team launched a token called Squid. It shot up over 2,000% in days. Crypto media covered it. Twitter was on fire. Then in about 5 minutes, the founders drained $3.3 million from the liquidity pool. The token dropped from $2,800 to $0.0009 in minutes. The technical mechanism that makes rug pulls possible is a sneaky piece of code embedded in smart contracts. Developers can write in what's called a honeypot function, code that allows investors to buy a token but makes it mathematically impossible to sell. People watch their holdings go up in value, try to cash out, and discover the contract literally will not allow them to sell. Their money is trapped until the developers drain everything. Sophisticated scammers also exploit flash loans, a feature unique to decentralized finance that allows someone to borrow enormous amounts of money with zero collateral, as long as the loan is repaid within a single transaction block. Attackers have used flash loans to temporarily manipulate asset prices, drain lending protocols, and walk away with hundreds of millions of dollars before the blockchain even finishes processing. In May 2022, $40 billion in market value evaporated in about 72 hours. This wasn't a fraud in the traditional sense. It was something arguably more dangerous, a system with a fundamental technical flaw that everyone was told was impossible. Terra was a blockchain ecosystem built around two tokens, Luna and Terra UST, a so-called algorithmic stablecoin. The idea was that UST would always maintain a peg to $1 through a complex mathematical relationship with Luna. There was no actual dollar backing it, no real reserve, just an algorithm. The creator, Kwon, was supremely confident. He publicly mocked critics who warned the system was fragile. He called skeptics poor on social media. He had billions of dollars in institutional backing and was considered one of the most brilliant minds in crypto. Then someone, or a group of someones, figured out that if you sold enough UST at exactly the right moment, you could break the peg. And they did. The death spiral began. As UST lost its dollar peg, Luna was automatically minted in enormous quantities to try to restore balance, which crashed the price of Luna, which further destroyed confidence in UST, which caused more selling. $100 in Luna became worth a fraction of a penny in days. Kwon fled South Korea. He was eventually arrested in Montenegro with a fake passport. Investigations into whether this was deliberate market manipulation are ongoing. But here's the lesson. Even the most mathematically sophisticated sounding systems can have fatal flaws, and the people promoting them loudest are often the last ones to admit it. And then there's FTX, possibly the most spectacular single collapse in crypto history. Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as everyone called him, built FTX into one of the world's largest crypto exchanges. He was on the cover of magazines. He donated hundreds of millions of dollars to political campaigns and charities. He testified before Congress as a friendly, reasonable expert voice on crypto regulation. He was worth an estimated $26 billion on paper. He was also, allegedly, running one of the biggest financial frauds of the modern era. In November 2022, reporting from CoinDesk revealed that FTX and SBF's trading firm, Alameda Research, were deeply intertwined in ways they should not have been. Customer funds deposited on FTX, money that was supposed to be held safely, had allegedly been funneled to Alameda for risky trading bets. When the value of those bets collapsed and customers tried to withdraw, there was no money left. $8 billion in customer funds, gone. SBF was arrested, extradited to the United States, and convicted on 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy in November 2023. He was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. The psychological damage this caused to the crypto industry was immense. Because FTX wasn't some anonymous Telegram scam, it was polished, professional, celebrity-endorsed, and politically connected. If this could happen there, it could happen anywhere. So what do we take away from all of this? The scams we covered today, BitConnect, OneCoin, the rug pulls, Terra Luna, FTX. They were all different on the surface. Different technology, different founders, different victims. But they shared the same DNA. They exploited human psychology. They weaponized complexity. They manufactured trust. And they moved faster than the systems designed to stop them. The uncomfortable truth is that the next big crypto scam is probably already being built right now. And it will be slicker, more convincing, and harder to detect than anything we've seen before. So here's how you protect yourself. If the returns sound too good to be true, they are. If the community pressure to invest feels overwhelming, walk away. If the technology is so complex that even the promoters can't explain it simply, that's a red flag, not a feature. And never, ever invest money you cannot afford to lose completely. The smartest thing you can do in this space is the boring thing. Understand what you're buying, know who built it, read the actual documentation, and be deeply suspicious of anyone who promises you certainty. The people who lost everything in these scams weren't stupid. They were human. And so are we. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe for more deep dives into the financial stories that actually matter. And be careful out there, because in crypto, the most dangerous thing of all isn't volatility, it's trust. If you also don't want to be a victim of scams, then like this video, hit that subscribe button, turn on your Infinity Zero mindset,